Hi, this is Matthew. This is Matthew from Love Buddy. Love Buddy is a group that works on sharing love in the world, works on communicating about love. We talk about love, we understand love more, we practice love. And I really believe that love is the key foundation in life. It's the key. It's not really a secret, it's way out in the open, but a lot of people don't understand it. They pursue other things in life, they're more interested in other things in life, but they're not so interested or understanding of love. I believe once we really understand what love is, it no longer becomes this vague, mushy, weak thing that causes pain and romance, but it becomes the foundation for our lives. And it gives us joy, happiness, and a very powerful life when it comes to pursuing the things we believe in, when it comes to pursuing the things that are important to us, when it comes to finding peace in the world, when it comes to finding calmness in our hearts, and when it comes to knowing how to live our lives so that we live a life of passion. And we're doing things that we love to do. And we're sharing with people that are people that we really love and people we care about, people we get along with great. Love can bring all these things to us if we really understand what love is. So that's what this LoveCast is about. It's not a podcast, it's a LoveCast. And we talk about love every day at the same time, 10 p.m. New York time, whatever time that is in your part of the world. And today we're going to be talking about community, love and community, because I feel like community is such a key part, such an important part of what love is about. It's about love in action. It's about being active with love, because love doesn't stand by and do nothing. Love doesn't sit in the bleachers in life, sit in the stands and act as if it's a spectator. Life is not a spectator sport, and love is not a spectator. Love learns, listens, understands, and acts. Love takes action. And when we live in a community, which everybody does, even if you're living far away from anybody, we still have communities online. And even if you're living out in the countryside and there aren't many neighbors around you, there's still some kind of a community place in town where you go shopping or where you interact with other people. Now, a few of us live in a remote area. Maybe these people have internet, maybe they don't, but still, there are ways that we can interact with other people. And sharing in your community, being part of your community is really a great opportunity to love and to be loved and to interact with other people, to share life, to share information, to have fun together, to have parties, to cook meals together, or to have a barbecue, something like that. There are a million things that we can do together. We can work together. We can fix things. We can build things. We can learn. We can teach. So community is all about all of these things. And what do you think about getting involved in community? What do you think of the value of community? I've been doing community projects, community work, probably since about 1985. And I've been volunteering at different community centers in different parts of the world, and different parts where I lived in San Diego, when I lived in San Francisco, and when I lived in Los Angeles, and when I lived in Chicago. In Malaysia, in Malacca, in a city in Malaysia, southern part of Malaysia near Singapore. In China, in Beijing and in Guangzhou. Here in the Philippines now, I live in the Philippines, and we're working with kids every Sunday. Today we'll work with them, today's Saturday. We're gonna work with the kids on Saturday today as well. We're gonna do some barbecue together, we're gonna do some cleanups, and we're also going to talk about community, talk about how kids can behave and how kids can learn from the community, from the elders in the community, and how kids can effectively interact with the people in their neighborhood. So without some guidance, without some leadership, without some interaction with adults, without some kind of a program, kids never learn. They never learn how to not play in the street, how not to throw their garbage on the ground and make a mess, how to behave around others, how to stay away from drugs that are harmful, cigarettes, alcohol, gambling. And we found here in the Philippines, and especially in our neighborhood, that these things are rampant. The kids are exposed to a lot of a lot of elements in the neighborhood, a lot of people, and a lot of things that don't make for a nice upbringing, that don't make for a great future. So we're working with the kids, and if you go to everybody, I'll share this in a comment. I forgot to share this. It's Everybody Community in the Philippines. We've got a community center that we've been doing here for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months now, and we're working with a local leadership, and we're working with the local parents, and we're working with the kids, and we're doing something at least every Sunday, and sometimes more than that, just to give the kids some guidance and give them a sense of responsibility. So does it make sense that you should practice love, that we should take action beyond our own family, beyond our own clique, our own cult, our own group, our own religion, our own tribe? What about people that aren't any part of any of that, but they're part of our geographical, they're local, they're part of our community, they're nearby? Well, I think so. I think we can do that. I think we should do that. How about children? Do children require a village, or should children be isolated to their parents' church, their school friends, and just around their house only? Or does it take more than that to raise a child? Does it take influence from a community? What if a little boy is interested in cars? Does it make sense for him to be able to hang around with somebody who does car repair, either for a hobby or as a profession? They own a car repair shop. When I was young, I was 14, I was able to hang around at a bike shop because I loved bicycling. And I hung around at a bike shop, and I was able to get a job there after a while. And I learned about repairing bikes. And not only was I able to make some pocket money, but I was also able to learn about bicycles. I was able to interact with people that liked bicycles. I was able to meet friends that way. And I was also able to get some mentorship from the bike shop owner, a guy named Bill Worth. Very cool dude, very nice guy, honest, hardworking guy. He was an engineer at an electronics engineer for many years, getting ready to retire. And he worked at a famous local electronics firm. And his dream was to have a bike shop, and it was a wonderful influence to work with that guy. So this was a couple miles from my home, maybe not far, maybe a mile and a half. And I could go there and visit him. And he was a mentor. I mean, he wanted to nurture me. He wanted to help me grow. He wanted to help me learn. He wanted to help me earn money. He wanted to help me learn about bicycles. He was not a predator like some of the people that I ran into in my neighborhood that I wasn't aware to stay away from. My parents were busy. I was number six out of 6 kids. By the time they had me, they were tired of parenting. So I was kind of off on my own a lot. Or I was hanging around one of my older brothers. And that was not always a good experience. But when I did get exposed to people in the neighborhood, we didn't have a community center. If we did, I was never introduced to it. And there were never really any programs that I could get involved in that worked for me. But we did have some projects at school, and that was helpful. I was interested in photography, could do that. If a kid in the neighborhood, especially children growing up, they need this. They require a community around them, people that are interested in the things these kids are interested in. If he wants to be a soccer player, kid can find where kids are playing soccer and where there's mentorship. So not only is the activity critical, vital, important, but it's also mentorship. Here's how to kick the ball correctly. Here's how to behave. Here's how to exercise. Here's how to nourish your body. Here are some of the substances that you want to stay away from. Here are some of the influences that are going to take you away from soccer and get you involved in illegal activities or activities that are going nowhere. Local mentors change lives. They're like a good school teacher that could actually change your life. And most people remember somebody that was a school teacher that made a difference. I remember what made a huge difference in my life, one of the teachers, I showed her a composition that I did. I was a terrible student. I never did any homework. But one time I did do some homework because the teacher told me, she said, look, you got a choice. You can pass this course by doing the homework, doing this assignment, or you're going to fail. And I said, okay, good idea. I'm going to do the assignment. So it was a composition. I don't know, 8-10 page handwritten composition. And when she read it, she said, did you do this? She wasn't trying to build my ego or compliment me, but that's what she really did. I said, yeah. She said, you didn't get any help from this? She knew me to be an honest kid. So she believed me when I said, no, I did it 100% by myself. And tears came up in her eyes. She said, why didn't you? Because I remember we were studying To Kill a Mockingbird. I never read the passage we were supposed to read that night. I never wrote any summary about it or anything like that. I don't know, I was just a horrible student. So anyway, long story short, her caring for me, she didn't really give me much time. She gave me a little bit of time. She gave all the students time. She had too many students. She couldn't focus on me a lot, but she was part of my community because she was a school teacher. And when I saw her eyes well up, it was life-changing for me. Someone in your neighborhood, if we have a community in our neighborhood, we have people we can interact with. And believe me, it brings to mind again how the predators, I dealt with someone who was part of the local church who was a sexual predator, and that was a horrible experience for me. I dealt with other people in the neighborhood that were nearby that were also men that were sexual predators, and was exposed to that. And that's a horrible thing. And there was so little people who were taking action in the community and protecting the kids from these bad influences, that were protecting the kids from substances they could get into. Like my older brother introduced me to all kinds of substances. And although it wasn't to be evil, sometimes he did force those things on me. So it gave me exposure to his side of life that was going to jail like he did, or poverty, living in his truck like he does now. I was around that a lot, and I wasn't really around community much, and I wasn't around people that were good, upstanding people in the neighborhood who said, wow, we've got to get together, and we've got to provide a place. We've got to provide activities. We've got to work together with the families and give these kids some guidance. I did get some. I could have gotten more. I got very little protection. I could have gotten more. We can always have more community, can't we? So I'm a firm believer, not because of the bad experiences that I went through, but I'm a firm believer in community because of the great potential that I can see, and how I see people not standing up for each other, people not working together. Everyone's a victim to the local law enforcement, as corrupt as that can be, as abusive as just completely what I'm getting at is the police, sometimes they're murdering or beating up people or raping people. A woman was raped by the side of the road. Took her years to get any kind of compensation for that. By the police, in broad daylight, out in public. So if we don't have a community where we're holding, whether it's a local law enforcement accountable, whether we're holding our neighbors accountable for their behavior and how they might be doing harmful things, or even the local government, if we're not working together in cooperation like these other entities are, we become complete, absolute victims to everything that goes on. But if we do work together in community, we can cooperate like some people are doing. They're cooperating on a greenhouse. They're cooperating on raising food, They're cooperating on energy solutions. They're cooperating on clean water solutions that aren't infected by chemicals or what's going on in Detroit, where people are getting poisoned by the water system there because they're saying, hey, there's nothing I can do. Yes, there is. When we work together in community, we can do anything. We can do anything that anybody can do. People say, well, we have to defer to the government. Why? The government is just a community that doesn't care about us so much because they're trying to take care of 350 million people. And a lot of them, they're not really trying to take care of it all. They're trying to take care of themselves. If you watch the behavior, and I know the U.S. government better because I was born in America. I don't live there anymore. I don't like it. But the U.S. government, if you look at how they live their lives in Congress, how hard they work or not, and you see so many of them really don't care. They've got these cushy jobs, and they don't work much, and they really are controlled and pandering to corporations and people with money. They don't care about neighborhoods. If the government cared about individuals, they would build community centers, and community centers would be a center of power and focus for the community. It would be a center of resources. It would be a center of information, cooperation, security, food, clean water, energy, jobs. If you have a community center, you can go there and somebody from a local business could go there and talk and say, look, we've got 3 jobs. We have 3 openings for people who can work doing these types of things. And because you're part of the community center, you'll be part of a training program, you'll be part of a mentorship program, you'll be in communication with the people around you. I know a lot of people, and I know there are millions and millions, if not 100 million in America, that don't even know their neighbors' names, and they live a few feet away. And because we're like that, because we hate that guy because of the color of his skin, or because we hate that guy because he's a Republican, we're Democrat, vice versa, whatever, or we don't like that guy because he's a different religion than we are. Oh my goodness, how these petty, simple, ridiculous, superficial, worthless, tribal concepts separate us, stop us from working together, stop us from being able to have a wonderful life where we're sharing the basic things we want. Everybody wants the same basic things. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to have joy in their lives. We want to raise families. We want to have healthy, happy relationships. We want to have nice social interactions. We all want the same thing, and we can all meet on this 90% similar level. And where you like chocolate, and I don't like chocolate, I like strawberry ice cream instead. We don't have to argue about that. You say, wow, you like chocolate ice cream, huh? I tried it once. I didn't really like it that much, but you know, I got some chocolate ice cream for you because I know you love it. Wow. We can approach our differences as long as we're working together on the basics, and the basics are there. They're given to us as a gift because that's how the world works. We automatically are so similar. We automatically want the same things. If I wanted to control you, if I wanted you to listen to me, I'd make up some idea about a God who's going to punish you and kill you if you don't obey me. I would divert all the love that you might have, all the time you might have, all the energy, all the resources you might have. I would divert those to 2 places. The first would be a non-existent entity, some kind of a deity, some kind of a being that you could spend your time studying about, talking to. And number 2, I would take as much from you as I could as the government, whether it's your time, whether it's your waiting in line at the DMV, whether it's your money that you're paying for taxes, whether it's how you drive your car. Okay, so we want safety on the roads, but this gets ridiculous when you cross the limit line by 1 foot and you get a ticket for $50, and then you got to wait in line forever to pay the ticket. It really is not designed. The system is not designed for people to work together in community usually. And usually that's not encouraged by the powers that be, because what does it do? It takes away their power. But if we want to have happy, joyful lives, if we want to get away from the conflict and the fighting, the race riots that are still going on, it's just so ridiculous when you look at it. We had that in the 60s. And now we've got these things where people that are black have to do this Black Lives Matter thing that is so freaking obvious. Of course Black Lives Matter. Of course white lives matter too. Of course all lives matter. But these guys are so tired of being shot by police in cold blood for doing nothing wrong. And there are so many examples of that. and there's so much crime. And I've been to communities and done some community work on the south side of Chicago, and you would not believe the chronic poverty, the chronic lack of security, the chronic danger, and just the place is just a mess. I mean, buildings are falling apart. Nobody's got any money or interested. The people have money, they're not interested. You can buy a house there for like $5,000 because nobody wants to live there because the crime's so high. It's such a dangerous and horrible place to live. Property's dirt cheap. I promise I'm going to raise money and go there and build a community center in the exact area where my car was broken into that said everybody community on the side. And I was doing full-time community work at the time. Somebody broke into my car, stole everything I had. Laptops and tablet and computer and my Kindle. No, not my Kindle, my phone. A lot of everything I had of value in the car. While I was visiting a friend, while I was doing community work there. That was my experience with trying to help out down there. I wasn't in the right place at the right time, and I also didn't know just how desperate people are. And the people that were living there, like, we don't care. Community, not community, church, not church, whatever. He's got stuff we want, we can sell. We maybe use it for food, maybe they're going to use it for drugs, maybe they're going to use it to buy a weapon, who knows, whatever. But it's amazing to see the chronic poverty that's gone on and on and on and on. And how the leadership, the people who could put together community centers, I talked to them. I talked to somebody, they don't want to listen. I said, let's do a community center because that's going to be the center where people can go and they can get help. And they can realize that the government cares about them. And they can see how their neighbor cares about them. And we can establish a foundation where we can work together and cooperate on our similarities and share resources. And every community needs that. We need a community center. We have got a lot of libraries. Libraries are good, but they're not a place to meet and talk. You're not supposed to talk in a library. They have meetings with the school, but it's not only about education, because a lot of times education is so limited in its scope. Public education was more of a prison system in my life because I started going to the library and I started interacting with people and having my own dreams and goals and plans outside of school. And school was just mostly a lot of times getting in the way of that. So with a community center, with working in community, I think we really need that. And I think that can make the difference, night and day difference in communities, especially communities that are really hurting. Faust, it seems to me that the type of utopian community you talk about is more in line with anarchistic thought, but completely antithetical to capitalism. Absolutely. Well, if capitalism is about dominating and controlling resources, money, you know, the people that get money are the people who are shrewd at getting money. The people who work in community are people who are shrewd and study and have a goal to work in community. People have money can do a lot of control. And I'm not talking about a utopian community because these types of things exist to one degree or another. But I haven't seen them really done very well, but I know they're done well in some places. And let's look at it this way. Let's not go to utopia. Let's just say there's a place where kids can play basketball. Instead of hanging out after school and doing drugs, we've got that, right? We've got places where kids can play basketball. We've got places where people can be mentors. We've got places, but they're just not focused on and developed because people don't know. People don't really understand how important it is. And nobody's taking a leadership role in this, or few people are. It's a huge project, you know. A lot of people in the world, a lot of communities, a lot of poverty, a lot of drug abuse, a lot of juvenile delinquents, a lot of challenges. I don't know if it's anarchy. You know, anarchy is just without being controlled by tyranny, right? This word anarchy gets a little bit misused. I think that a community, instead of saying it's not about any government of any kind, I think it's a lot more about government. Because when a kid used to do something in the neighborhood in the 50s or the 40s, he'd get caught. Hey, did you see little Billy was hitting kids with a stick? Everybody knows. And a neighbor will take that kid and take him up to the parents and say, little Billy was hitting the kids with a stick. And the parent, because he knows the neighbor and trusts the neighbor, Billy, were you doing that kid inside the house? We're going to talk about this. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to community. I'm talking about people working together. That's not wild anarchy like a lot of people think it is. It's absolutely the opposite. It's making sure that the kids in the neighborhood get proper guidance. It's making sure that the people in the neighborhood, if there's some guy that's getting drunk and beating his wife all the time, that's going to last about one day in a real community. In a community of people that care, people that take action, people that know what love is about. What are the aspects of love that relate to community? Accountability, holding ourselves accountable, but also holding each other accountable. Wait, I saw you do that. Don't do that. I was on a bus once. It was a full bus. It was in San Francisco. And there's a guy who's asleep, older man, his wallet's sticking out of his back pocket a little bit. There's a guy sitting behind him who's trying to grab that wallet out. And I was kind of in a day, I'm kind of looking sideways, a little bit behind me to my right, across the aisle. I didn't know what to do. The guy's going for the wallet, and then the old man would kind of wake up a little bit, he's trying to get that wallet out. There were at least 7 or 8 people that were watching that occur. And finally, I just said something. I said to the guy, don't do that around me. Not in my world was my opinion, was my idea. I don't want to see that. He got off at the next stop. How much crime would be prevented if we were more able, if we weren't so scared or timid about speaking up when we see things that are wrong? So when it comes to anarchy, when it comes to utopia, I'm not talking about either of those. I'm talking about love, and love involves, like I said, accountability, taking action, being nurturing, caring about others, being generous with your time and your resources, not isolating yourself and sitting inside your home every night and watching some program that's not really contributing to your own brain cell power or contributing to anybody else all around you. And believe me, no matter what's going on, no matter what kind of community you live in, no matter what kind of neighborhood you live in, where you live in, there are always people that need help. Even in a very well-to-do area where there are a lot of resources, what about senior citizens that are by themselves? Maybe they're lonely, their children are far geographically, or the children don't care about them. There are a million ways that we can interact and we can support each other by being more outgoing with our neighbors. Why don't we do it? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is because all of the polarity is really cranked up. Different races, different financial means, different religions. Religions very often, you can be really dedicated to your own tribe, whatever that tribe might be, whether it's your race, your political group, or your religion. And even an AA group, even some kind of a 12-step program, it could be wonderful what you share with those people, but you may be totally neglecting people all around you that may also need interaction, that could really benefit from what you have to share. And vice versa, we can benefit from what they have to share, what they know, their experience, their challenges, their knowledge, their skill set, their talents. Not only on a sharing resources level necessarily, but maybe somebody plays guitar and you like to sing or you like to listen. So it could be on an entertainment level, on a social level too, and that's enriching and that's nurturing. So I'm not talking about these ends of the scale that are so ridiculously dream world. It's not a dream world, and nothing's impossible. It becomes possible once somebody does it. And I can see this clearly. And I'll show it to you if you doubt it, once I can accomplish it. Because that's what we're working on here. Right now we have a goal to do 5 community centers here in this local area in Ormoc, Philippines. We're going to do that. And so we got the first one going. We're building momentum through the weeks. Every week we're consistently being there. Every week we're consistently posting things on our webpage. We're consistently interacting with the local people. We did a school supplies drive. If you saw the way these kids live, I mean, some of them live in what is less than a hut, and they eat less than what you could consider meals for food. So we did one thing, that was school supplies, and we got the neighborhood involved, and people kicked in, and we were able to help 16 kids with a little go back to school kit. And it had pencils and pens and an eraser, a ruler, and it had some paper in there, and it had some glue, you know, all the things that the kids need to start the school year. We did that for 16 kids. Small scale, but I'm a small guy. I'm not a big, powerful dude with a lot of resources, but we were able to accomplish that. Why? Is it utopia? Is this chaos? This is just helping people, you know, realizing that these kids need help and doing something about it. And this is a foreign idea to a lot of the neighbors, a lot of the adults in the area. But some people, it's black and white. Some people at the other end of the scale, like, we can't believe you're doing this. This is so great you're doing this. And let us know how things are coming along and let us know what help we can give. So there are people who are there in the place where they really understand, they value community. There are people who really want to contribute. There are people who really care. And there are people that are cynical. They're frustrated. They're negative. They don't get it. They don't see how it can be done. There are people who would never go snow skiing or skydiving because they don't really know how that works, and maybe that kind of scares them or doesn't interest them. And they don't really know the incredible surfing, you know. I've seen guys surf. I think it's cool. But I never considered myself to be the kind of person who could ever surf. But one day I went with a friend who's kind of a good surfer, put on the wetsuit, gave me the board to use, and we went surfing. I never thanked him for that. And a little wave came along, I mean a little wave, and he knew the timing, so he was standing in the water, it was shallow water, and he pushed the board right at the perfect time so that I kind of rode that wave a little bit. Ecstasy, that was so cool. I thought it was great. Now, I'm not a surfer, I'm not that kind of guy, but it turned me on to something I was totally ignorant about. Community can be the same thing for so many people that don't get it. It can turn them on to something that they're so unaware of, something they didn't know the potential of, something they didn't understand. Wow, look at people getting along, people working together. This blew people's mind in New York after 9/11 because people in New York, right, I've been there, they're busy with all the things New York, whatever that might be. And community is not the first thing on most people's minds, although there are some great, strong communities and some tribal behavior there as well. But the general open community that really we could have, no, they don't have it. After 9/11, there was an explosion of people caring about each other. Then it went away because there's no framework for that. There's no structure for that. There's no system for that. There's no leadership for that on a grand scale. So with the disaster, there was a lot of sympathy, empathy, brotherhood, kindness, crossing all these boundaries that normally people put up these walls. And it was fantastic. People that I've talked to who were in New York during that time, just a beautiful thing. And then it goes away. But this doesn't mean that it's unrealistic. This doesn't mean that it is in contrast to any working system. But it would undercut the power of capitalism to create poverty, to create isolation. Capitalism is about people who focus and skill on making money, not people who are focused and skilled on building community or loving their neighbor. That's an absolute whole different thing. I don't endorse capitalism. I endorse survival for everyone. I endorse everyone working together, everyone contributing, everyone being accountable. Hey, didn't see you at the greenhouse helping out on Sunday. What happened? We need you. We need your help in the greenhouse. We got a bunch of tomatoes now. Okay, so there's a kind of an accountability that comes from community. And this idea about, oh, if we're helping each other out like that and we're not money-based, there's this ridiculous fantasy that people aren't going to kick in, that everybody's just going to kick. We've got over half of the American public right now on some kind of assistance program from the government. That's capitalism for you. We have people that are completely unemployed, sitting around watching TV all day, taking money from the government and people that are working hard. Instead of building an infrastructure, I lived in China for years. America's infrastructure absolutely sucks. The trains and the buses and the bridges are falling apart. Think capitalism works? That's capitalism for you. Community works. Love works, accountability works, cooperation works. Us acting, us working together, us focusing on the things we have in common, as opposed to some petty, superficial, childish difference, like religion, like politics, like race, like class differences. These are all superficial, petty differences. Beneath all of that is love, and the love we feel for our families, the love we can feel for each other, and having a happy, healthy life where we're cooperating, even though we do have some superficial differences. That all has no relevance. It all has no real impact when you're love-based, when you're love-centered, when love is your foundation. If it's not, if something that separates you from other people is your foundation, take a look at that. Take a look at what you're doing, what you find sacred, what you find so right, and how does that affect your ability to get along with other people? I'll tell you what's right, in my opinion. Love. Love is right. Kindness, compassion, understanding, cooperation, communication, working with others. That's something that I can see worth putting my energy into. Politics, religion, race, class differences, sports teams. People kill each other over a soccer match. People have these stampedes or these fights in the parking lot after a game. Wow! People follow what the government says, go kill the bad guy, and they end up shooting in cold blood a woman and her children as they're coming out of a grass hut or something like that. Things that we follow, we can decide what's going to divide us, what's going to bring us together. Community is love expressed in the world to other people on a bigger scale. And if you're not involved in community at some point, maybe you will be in the future, because having your life in order is one thing. It's never going to be perfect. You don't say, I'm only going to drink water until I can drink water perfectly. You've got to have food too. You can't just deal with your own life until your own life is just right, until your finances are in a certain place, or until your kids graduate school, or until you finish building that addition, or whatever other thing that you're putting in the way of getting involved with other people around you. These things happen at the same time, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If you're not active in community to some degree, you don't have life balance. You don't have an interaction with other people in any meaningful way. Once you get involved in community, once you do something on some level, wow, challenges come up, yeah. Richness comes up. It's like getting married or having a baby, something like that. Sure. There are rough times, sure there are challenges, sure there are problems, but the rewards are immeasurable. I taught a little girl, and this is in Malaysia, and her parents didn't really, I don't know, but they didn't teach her to ride a bike. I taught her how to ride a bike. It only took a few minutes, but I saw her months later. I had moved to another place and I came back and visited. She said, thank you so much for teaching me to ride a bike. Did that feel good? Wow. Because nobody around her was doing that. And I knew how to do it. I knew how to teach that. how to ride her bike. I knew how to teach that. And it was a beautiful exchange that gave me such a sense of value to somebody else. We need that. We need to feel that we're doing something of value. A community can do that. And it gave her a skill. And it gave her a warmth. Somebody cares about me. Somebody wanted to help me. And this is just some friend of my dad's. This isn't somebody who's it's their job or their responsibility. And that meant something to her, and that meant something to me. So these things, getting involved in community is challenging, and it can be challenging, absolutely. We've had our challenges here. I don't have time to get into it, but absolute challenges. At the same time, there's nothing more rewarding, and the rewards are a million times greater. I'm going to share a link for the community work and for the website that I've had for a lot of years, a lot of different community projects I've worked on. Some of them absolute failures, some of them were somewhat successful, and I'll share the links here in a comment. Thanks so much for watching today. Sorry I'm over time here. Community is a huge topic. So anyway, I'll be back tomorrow, 10 p.m. New York time. That was about 40 minutes ago. I'm back every day with another topic. I don't know what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Thanks for participating. Thank you, Faust. We've been friends for a long time. Appreciate your feedback. And we're going to be back tomorrow, and I look so forward to seeing people again tomorrow, getting your feedback. This is Matthew from Love Buddy with a LoveCast. I love you. Have a wonderful day or night or afternoon or morning. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.